So I was in Brazil and I asked a buddy of mine who's into martial arts. I said, what martial art do you think I should take? And I was thinking Kung Fu sounded like the coolest martial art, sounded pretty badass. And he was like, oh, well, you're in Brazil, you should take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'd never heard of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I found this Jiu-Jitsu gym in my neighborhood and I walked in and there's a bunch of guys wrestling and it was like what I always wanted to do. I always wanted to wrestle. And they let us watch a class, and then after we watched the class, we signed up. That was it. That was like the intro. And I barely spoke any Portuguese then. I spoke a little bit of Portuguese, and I just got thrown in to the mix and got my ass kicked and loved it from the first day. So when I started a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu clothing company, I wanted a Portuguese name. I wanted to be tied to that culture because that's the context that I started in. And I think it's easier now to be involved in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu without being really involved in the Brazilian culture. Once I ended up opening a gym, I had the perfect opportunity to make some clothes and experiment because I had a captured market, right? I had a reason to make these shirts, and we had some funds, and it would kind of it fit in very well with what we were doing at the gym. So that's how I started making t-shirts. That was the first thing we worked on. And we made those just for the gym. And then I ended up, the first couple shirts we made, we ordered them. They came out terrible. They came out awful. The shirt quality was bad. The print was bad. It was like everything was wrong. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go learn how to make a t-shirt. So I took classes. I learned how to screen print. And that's when I started making t-shirts, printing, and that's when I started really creating stuff that I felt a little more proud of. The screen printing process for me is something I really enjoy. It's also really important to me because for me, it's part of my creative process. I think if I could do everything in-house, I would do it because it gives me so much flexibility and freedom. And for me, I'm a really hands-on person. So, I might design something in Illustrator, but that's nowhere near as creative a process or as effective for me as sewing something on, getting my hands dirty. Jiu-Jitsu is so new, the industry around Jiu-Jitsu is still so new that there hasn't been a whole lot of innovation. So our goal is to be a little more fashion forward than most of the companies that are out there, but we're also really interested in innovation on the equipment and gear side. People who train Jiu-Jitsu, it's something that they think about a lot and something they identify really strongly with. And so we wanted to have something that represented the lifestyle of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that idea of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but also we wanted to do it in a way that represented a certain type of person who does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. An amazing thing about Jiu-Jitsu is traveling, because there's no other way to bond with people like that. I've studied abroad a bunch of times, I've traveled everywhere, and until I started doing Jiu-Jitsu and traveling, I never made connections in the same way.